from the bad guy. I'ma stare him in the eye like, what's up?
Let's get over here. Hello, everyone. Sorry, Maggie today because, of course, another tropical storm. So I first want to thank you so much for tuning in. And you already know I have to start with my trigger warning. So before we begin today's conversation, I want to share a gentle trigger warning. This episode contains open and honest discussions about grief, loss, trauma, addiction. Some parts of the story may be difficult to hear, and that is just, it's okay. It's okay. If at any point you need to pause, breathe, step away, turn it off, please do what feels right for you because your healing matters most. Now let's take a deep breath together and step into this powerful, powerful conversation with compassion and grace, okay? So, welcome to Insights of a Survivor. I'm your host, PJ, and this space was born from the heart of a survivor. Hey, I created this show because it means to walk through the storm. We walk through the storm. You're gonna know. Remember that reference to storm, okay? We had to walk through the storm to carry pain, to carry grief or silence, and we still wake up every day determined. This is not just another podcast; it's a safe space, a place for real stories, real healing, real individuals who refuse to let their past define their power. Every episode, you'll hear voices that have walked through fire and have found light on the other side. You'll meet men and women who've turned their trauma into truth, pain, purpose, and survival. And it all comes from a source of healing. I started this show because I believe our stories matter. I believe your voice deserves to be heard. Yours. Not here in the middle of it, like right in the middle of your healing. Your voice deserves to be healed. This is where we rise together. So if you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or uncertain about your next step, you're in the right place. Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to the healing, and welcome to Insights of Your Survivor. So today I have the honor of sharing a space with a woman whose story is beyond pain. It's a story of resilience and transformation. My guest, Miss Luciana Black, who also goes by Miss Phoenix Storm. Remember that name? Someone who went through the storm and rose from the fires, the ashes, and she became as strong as a phoenix. A name that reflects exactly who she is. She rose from loss, grief, and she's carrying beauty in her heart. When her father passed away, life as she knew it changed forever, and her mother's addiction turned love into survival. But Miss Phoenix became the strength her family needed, long before she had a chance to understand her own. But through every storm, she held on. Her journey didn't end in pain, it evolved into purpose. Through prayer, journaling, and deep reflection, she built marvel the strength of movement that helps turn others, into wisdom and their silence into healing. Miss Phoenix's story is a reminder that even the darkest moments, grace in the darkest moments, grace still finds. She didn't just survive the storm. She walked through the fire. She walked all strength. So get ready, you guys. You ready to feel? You ready to reflect? You ready to be inspired? Because today we're walking beside a woman who embodies redemption itself. So I'm going to bring Miss Phoenix Storm, Miss Luciana, aka Miss Phoenix Storm. Welcome, 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 sister. Thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for just such an awesome introduction. It was everything, and it does embody everything that Phoenix Storm is. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're
That
welcome.
introduction. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I love your story. I love your energy. You guys don't know, me and her have been working together. She's just recently joined Nova Sorella Sorority, a sisterhood that I created with a sister of mine, Miss Amanda Harris. And Miss China, she's the first one. She's one of our first members. She's actually the executive assistant, and she's been showing me how she rose through that storm firsthand. So having her on this show is more personal for me because she is a part of my life, and she's in the little bit of time that I've known her, she's become a really, really important sister in my life. So I thank you so much for being on this show. I love that you had the time because she works full time, you guys. And I'm not the easiest person. I'll be throwing stuff at her and she be getting it done. So I thank you for making time to be on this show because I know you have a lot on your plate right now.
It's a calling, you know. Sometimes you are chosen. It's like, you know, if
Yes,
you think
ma'am.
that, and you think about it, you know, sometimes you don't feel like you're qualified for the call.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, you sure are.
when God chooses you,
Yes, ma'am.
I am her. I'm
I am
chosen.
her.
And I
Yes,
walk
ma'am.
in that. Like I embody that, you know, where it says, you know, touch not my anointed, do my prophet no harm. I
Mm-hmm.
stand in that 100%. Like I walk in that. I live that. You know, people's life that I encounter, I leave an
Mm-hmm.
imprint because
Mm-hmm.
I was chosen for that. You know,
Yes.
I was given an assignment long before
Mm-hmm.
I knew what the assignment would be. But because I was called, I answered. I answered.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. And you are 100% because you've only been in my life for a short while, and you definitely have touched and inspired me. So that is a very true statement. When you step into someone's life,
Absolutely.
if they allow that energy to resonate. So can you take us back to the time when your father passed away? How did that moment shift your world? That was kind of the start of your journey.
Well, 7 years old, you're going to school. Go to school, you know, you get ready for school. We had a routine. You know, like my mom was a mom of structure from the start. It was structure from the start, you know, straight to school, straight home. Don't be stopping nowhere, you know, don't be doing nothing you don't got no business doing, which we continued on in our life. But we go to school that morning. Our dad was, you know, in a bed, and, you know, you come home. You know, most parents or most family members will, you know, call you at school, let you know. She let us have the last normalcy we would have that day until our life would be changed forever. I am the oldest of three. At the time, I was 7. My brother was 6. My sister was a year old, turning 2 the next week, which all of their birthdays were the next week. My mother, my brother, and my sister. Um, my mom, you know, we get home from school, 3rd grade, get home from school, and your grandparents is there. That's not normal. My mom sitting on the end of the bed, and she sat us down, you know, myself, my brother, and my cousin at the time, who was a very intricate part of my life. She is my everything. And she may see this, she probably will, but Motina, you know, she is my sister outside of my sister. My mother sat us down because at the time, like my biological sister was just a year old, so she had no understanding. But us three, you know, being raised together and, you know, tight knit, my mother sat us on the bed and said, you know, your father loved y'all with everything in him, but he's not coming back. Um, and don't worry about it. It's us against the world. And from that day, November 2nd, till today, November 7th, 2025. And that was in 1985. I lived by it's us against the world. I lived by that. Things change quickly. You know, you go from having a mother and a father to just having a mother, you know, and that being the love of her life. You know, when she was 19, she married my dad. You know, she told my uncle, like, that's going to be my husband. And to enter into marriage, have 3 children, and 7 years later, wow, 7. Whew. 7 years later, you now enter into a life you never thought you would. Without your husband, the love of your life. You're now a single mom with 3 children. How you gonna make that work? she was lost. And in that loss became pain that would just be a continuous spiral in so many aspects. We watched our mom lose herself. Like, you know, back then you don't know what that is or what that looked like, but today she lost herself when he died. Like when my father died, part of her died with him, but she had to learn how to continue on because it was us against the world. She had 3 kids to raise, you know, and that's when, because she didn't know how to deal with the grief, or she couldn't deal with the grief and the heartbreak, she turned to alcohol, she turned to drug abuse, you know, men that didn't value her. That's where the domestic violence come in. And me being the oldest, that's where I felt like us against the world. I got to look out for my brother and sister. You know, I was that at that moment, I became a mom before I even knew what that really was. You know, I was like a mom primarily before I was a sister secondary. You know, it was just, that was my calling from the very beginning. From the very beginning, to take care of people, to step into a role that was given to me. It was assigned to me. I didn't ask for it, but I stood in it, executed it to perfection, 10 toes down, no matter what it looked like. I rode the rage. I rode the waves from addiction to sobriety with my mom. You know what I'm saying? Like the ups, the downs, the rehabs, the relapses, but sitting in that, her faith never wavered, no matter what. God never gave up on her. She never gave up on God. And I just watched that, you know, from a distance, but also up close and personal. I mean, you know, you would hope that your parents would, you know, when my mom at the time would get herself together, you know, but it wasn't until she was ready. It couldn't be because, you know, we had, you know, outsiders looking in. It wasn't because my grandmother wanted her to get clean. It wasn't because we were her children. It wasn't because you know, a pastor wanted her to do it. It wasn't because, you know, foster people got into the mix. It was because she had to want it. You can want something for somebody so bad, but it's not, if they don't want it, it ain't no use. It's a waste of time. That life-altering event, losing your father at a young age, it shaped how I have relationships with men romantically. It shaped the trust that I have. It also shaped how I looked at myself, the self-love, the self-worth, the value, because, you know, it starts at home. It starts with your dad. You know what I'm saying? He's telling you, hey, this is how a woman's supposed to be treated. You know, if you don't see that and you don't have somebody to step into that role to show you consistently, you have to learn through trial and error. And I've experienced a lot of grief, heartache, and pain from those trial and errors. But everything I go through is a lesson. And I take whatever it is I learn from that lesson. And when I go into my next one, I execute that shit with flying colors and pass the test. So yeah, I stand in it. You know, this is not easy. Grief is not easy. It's a everyday thing. It's a process. It's a process. It don't just start and stop when they die and the casket closed. It's not that. You know, it's so much more. Grief is so much more. It's not just, you know, when a family member died. Grief is you losing something that meant something to you significantly. It's the loss. You know, you got to sit in that. You got to see what that looked like. Your life gonna change. How do you move on from the familiar to now the unfamiliar? What is this walk gonna look like? Do I even feel like I want to step into this? Do I even know what this is? You know, having to, my thing is to feel, heal, and live. in order to begin healing from any type of grief, for me, I had to face what I once buried. And when you bury stuff, you can't heal from what you can't admit. That's just that. You cannot heal from what you can't admit. You can't heal from being broken if you can't say, I'm broken. You can't say, I'm healed, but I won't take accountability. You can't say I'm healed if you're not willing to do the work. You can't say you healed when you continuously hurt people. Hurt people. You bleeding on people that didn't cut you. You got to feel that in order to begin to heal. And once the healing begins and you process through that and you work through it, that's when you return to that alive feeling. Because grief can make you feel like you died with that thing, that relationship, that family member, that job, your sense of self, them kids. You got to be like, I got to sit in this. For me, I have to sit in pain to process it. But that's self-awareness. I have to sit in that to see what it is that I need to get out of it. What's the purpose? Because whatever my purpose is, my God assignment is going to help somebody else. My real name, Luciana, means light. And when I say I step into this, I own this. I know for a fact that no matter where I've been, where I am, where I will go, I will always be the light in somebody's life. I've loved people from the darkest pits of hell. My daughter, myself right now, currently, right now, as we speak, I am sitting in the fire. But as I sit in the fire, I remind myself, I was born into the fire. And I was born from ashes. I don't look like what I've been through. I don't look like what I'm going through. Because where I am, I'm not going to sit here long. I got an assignment. I got things to do. I got souls to save. It's a thing when you are divinely favored. It's a thing when you are chosen to do something nobody else can do. I can walk into a room and say nothing, and a complete stranger will tell me their whole life story and feel like they've been knowing me all day life. That's God-given. That can't be imitated. It cannot be duplicated. It's authentic. Everything that I do is with intention and purpose. So it's intentional for me to sit in grief. It's with purpose that I learn from it, feel it, get through it. Because my daughter once said to me in my first book, Marvel's Inspiration, A Journal for Self-Healing, stand when you feel like you want to break. Stand when it feels like it's impossible. Stand because you are an inspiration to others. I am that. I am that. Because this grief thing, not only did it hit me as a young child with my dad, as I went through being a teenager into young adulthood, womanhood, I had to sit in it again. My grandmother passed away 1999. She was my everything. Like, Lord have mercy. When my mama make me mad, I'm going to my grandma's house. She gone now. What I'm going to do? You still got your mother, even in sobriety, even in the addiction, even in the alcoholism, even in the trauma. She was emotionally unavailable. And because she was emotionally unavailable, it was times I was emotionally unavailable. I was emotionally neglected because I was too busy surviving. I didn't have time to sit in what feelings was like. I didn't have time. I didn't get into that until I got grown. I had to learn what that was like. When my mother became sober, entered into sobriety, that's when I was like, I could take the cape off for a little while. For a little while. She got the reins. She got this back. This is who she always was. She was bent, but she wasn't broken. She was bent, she wasn't broken. Just like me right now. I'm bent, but baby, I'm not broken. How about that? I'm not. When people do things and you experience things in life, yeah, it gut punch you. It may knock the wind out of you, but you say, hey, I lost my mama and I'm still here. I lost my daddy and I'm still here. What else? What else? If that didn't take me out, this ain't gonna take me out. I'll stand in this for a minute, but I can't stay here. I got to keep moving. I got to keep moving. The grief of my mother, it's a saying called, you mourn your father, but you grieve your mother. That is the most true statement ever. Because although I was young, didn't really have the true concept of grief and what that looks like. When my mother left here, I felt like a part of me went with her. Like I had to learn to really live again. Like to learn how to live in a world that did not consist of my mom. Like everything I did surrounded her, even in her addiction, all the way to her sobriety. Because when she passed away, she was sober 11 years. My sister got to get a version of her me and my brother didn't get. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful she didn't have to sit in, she was present, but at the time she was young. For 10 years, I sat in addiction with my mother. In every phase and face of that, I sat in that with her. I never left her. It was times I enabled her, but I sat in it. I watched her fight for her life. When I became a mother in 96 to my first son, and I was looking for that guidance in a mom because she had it. She just was dealing with an illness, because that's what addiction is. It's an illness that she had to be ready to confront and step into it head on, because that's what she wanted, not because we wanted it. And I think when I became a mom and she saw that the disappointment, looking at my daughter's a mom, how am I to show up for her? To be a grandmother when I'm really at this moment right now, I'm not showing up as her mother. And my mom, like I said, no matter what, I'm talking about the way that woman prayed, my God, how she prayed, what she prayed for. I can only emulate that. And she said, like, God, if you bring me out of this, for me to be here for her and my grandson and my other kids, I'll never go back. And she stood on it until her last breath. July 27th, 2007, she never went back. So when you look in the eyes of adversity, you look in the eyes of a woman that could have been, oh my God, things that could have taken her out. Things most people don't survive. Trauma, PTSD, alcoholism, domestic violence, all type of abuse, only for her to come out on her own terms. You talking about resilience. I watched my mother sit in a house with me for 90 days as a brand new mother. 90 days, which is to most, a rehab stint. 90 days. My mother sat in the house with me as a new mother. Nobody knew she was here. People thought she was away. Rehab facility. My mother was in here with me and my sister, my brother. She stayed in her Bible. She stayed in her small circle. She provided us what we needed when we needed it the most. She was shaping us to always do what's right. My mother never threw people away, no matter your walk of life, your life experiences. She never did that. And because of that, God granted her something far beyond my understanding. And that was eternal and everlasting peace, because that is so what she was deserving of. She was too good.
Thank you so much. It's okay. So if your mother can hear you right now today, what you know she can, what would you want her to know? Just take your time. Take your time.
I would want her to know, no matter what, her job was well done. And I got it from here. Like I said, I walked through those valleys. I walked through the fire, only for me now to come out unstained, not smelling like smoke, not burned, but baby, rebuilt. Rebuilt. I got it from here. I got it from here.
That's
What
beautiful.
she did, what she left me with, like my mother in her last days, most people don't get to right their wrongs. Most people don't, especially in this thing called childhood and parenthood. Me being, them kids that think they know more than their mama, and to their mama be like, hey, I don't care what you talking about, what I say, and with that being said, I ain't always get it right coming up. I ain't always say the right things. I ain't always do the right things. I wasn't always right. Was it things that happened that I had to ask God for forgiveness, and also my mother? I did. That also made me grow up. That also made me take a look at myself. Like watching your mother, I talked to Amanda last year on the podcast, Open Letters to a Survivor. There's different types of grief. And I've sat in anticipatory grief, not once, but again this year. Anticipatory grief is, it's coming. You don't know when, but it's coming. It's inevitable. You see it, you're watching it. And as I sit in anticipatory grief with my mom, you're just waiting for the shoe to drop, when it's going to happen. And then when it does, your life has changed forever. And in that experience, I learned a lot more about faith, forgiveness. Learned a whole lot about that, because I had to go and sit. My mama body racked and riddled with cancer, and I had to sit there, tears in my eyes. She crying and she saying, I want to go home. Not knowing that was that home she was talking about. But, I had to tell my mother, I love you. Forgive me. Because here's the thing. I had to forgive my mother too. Not because of life circumstances, because I had to forgive her because I was blaming her for things she had no control over. But she got it right. Before she left, she got it right. So I had to ask for forgiveness so I could continue to get it right. Even today, I don't always, like I say, get it right. I don't always say the right things. I always do the right things, but I do things with great intention and purpose. It's genuine. And if ever I have wronged someone, I would hope that they would come to me and have a conversation so I can be able to heal the hurt that I caused. Because it's never for me to hurt you with intention. It's never that, And with that, God allowed me to have another experience with grief. And this grief was as recent as 3 months ago. I won't say names because I'll just leave that private, but I'll speak on the experience. Some of the things that I walked through and experienced, and some things that I didn't when my mom transitioned, God allowed me to step into that with someone else. Earlier this year, I was tested. And the test led me to brokenness. And I'm just being 100% honest. Broke me to the point where I had to go back to the lessons of my mom. I had to sit in that. And I had to cry out to God just like my mother did. Like, God, if you bring me out, whatever this is, I surrender. And I have to stand in obedience about what's to come next. And in that obedience, I did not know that he was slowly rebuilding me to be the very shoulder, the very legs, the very support system that someone close to me would need. I mean, I walked it down with this person as their mother transition from this life to the next life. I mean, watched her light go out. And how it was only God, because that was a trigger for me. That was a trigger for me to sit in it. I was reliving the experience all over, but God said, no, you will not break. Some of this you are healed from, but because some of it you're not, you got to go through this so that you can heal. I'm going to show you what your healing looks like for somebody else. Because right now, this person that you're walking alongside have no understanding of what this is. And this person, it's been her and her mom all her life. See, I can relate to a person losing their mom because I've lost mine. But what I cannot relate to was that young lady never being separated from her mom all her life. Like, I've had separation. I've moved out, but to experience that's something on a whole different level. And it took somebody like me And like I said, that was a privilege. That was a privilege and honor for someone to allow me to enter into such a sacred space and time to just be there, to just guide you through something I went through, because somebody had to do it for me. And it was a village. It was a village. But God built me to go with this just for her, like nobody else. It was just me and her for the ride from the beginning to the end. And when I say her words to me, because she's an only child, I don't care what you say. You will always be my sister. She trusted me with doing her mom's obituary. You know how that's an honor, because these are her last words. Like, this is the last dedicated piece to her life on this side. And to be given such an honor and privilege, it humbled me even further. It helped me with grief in a way I had no understanding. I'm talking about peace in this grief. Even though I sat with her, I cried with her, was silent with her, encouraged her, supported her however she needed. Because what grief looked like for her, it didn't look like that for me. But because I can relate, guess what? I learned another level of grief. And because I learned another level of grief, it also introduced me to another level of healing.
Nice. So just for time's sake, because I don't want to get a chance to talk about your company, Marvel the Strength. I'm sorry. So how did journaling and prayer become part of your healing process, and what led you to create Marvel the Strength?
Marvel is my mom. That was her name. And Marvel was her name. Marvel was her name. And you look at all that I've talked about, that was strength. So I always said, like, I wanted to write a book, and I'm just like, I'm like sitting down, like, want to write a book. And I wrote this down I wrote it down in a book. I just wrote down all the things she went through. And I'm like, she checked that. She checked that. She checked that. That's strength. And I put Marvel Strength on the paper in 2017, and I closed the book. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, a male friend of mine. He pushed me, said I wanted to do a book. He said, you can do it. Go ahead. My mom died when I was 30. So for 10 years, like 10 years, I sat in her addiction. 11 years, she was sober. 2 weeks after my 30th birthday, she passed. And right before I turned 40, that 10 year, life was life for me. Chaotic. I was all over the place. Working full time, going to school full time, raising kids, helping my sister with her kids, just all the things. Like, just lost. Because I was pouring myself into everybody and not really pouring back into me. And I sat down and realized that, you know, my mom used to sit at the computer and journal and write all the time. She's always right. I write. And just this particular time, I'm going through her stuff, and I was like, ooh, you know, these are journals. You know, you ain't supposed to be reading people personal thoughts, but she gone. She gone. Let me see what this is about. At the age 40, sitting down, reading my mother's journals, which were dated for a year. And her last journal entry was July 26, 2007. July 26. No, it was, I'm sorry. Her last journal entry was July 27th, 2006. So I read those journals, and in those journals, like I said, my mother prayed for everybody, for everything, every situation, every circumstances. Her faith never wavered, no matter what she encountered, what she went through, what she was up against. You know, looking at how your mother prayed for you in private versus how she pray for you in silence, you know, you be getting out of pocket. She be like, Jesus, be still. Honor thy mother. You don't understand what that means until you sitting down and you reading those private thoughts. And I'm talking about tore me down. Because here it is. We out here thinking we uphold this image. But you have people that really know you in the background. Like people that's really praying over you and for you. And when I sat down with that, that changed my life. And I said, my mom freed herself through journaling, you know, and later, you know, after that, I encountered another life blow. You know, my daughter was dealing with not being able to express herself and how she was feeling. You know what I'm saying? And in all transparency, she attempted suicide. But that wasn't her ending. God saw that she had much more work to do, like myself. She has a story. Her, like myself. What's going to be birthed out from her, I can't wait. Because she was my rainbow baby. She was my baby after a loss. So she got it on her. She has to just step into it. And knowing that you have people that one who felt they could not express their self, express their hurt, their feelings, whatever that looks like. And knowing that my mom freed herself that way, I decided I wanted to do a book, but somebody said, hey, let's start with a journal. And I was asked, what is your why for this piece? And my why was my mother. My why was my daughter. My why was myself. Being able to have uncomfortable conversations in a space that's safe, that's free from judgment and scrutiny. So that's where Marvel's inspiration, A Journal from Self-Healing, came from. You know, it was built out of grief and strength. You know, Marvel is her name. Strength, what she possessed, and productions came from produce, birth out. You know, I established Marvel the Strength Productions July 27th, 2020. July 27th is the day she passed away. And I'm like, I can't keep sitting in this. You know, I cannot keep sitting and every year this day come up. Yeah, I'm grieving, I'm crying, but let's kind of turn this around. So I decided to birth out my first business, Marvel the Strength Productions, with her in mind. And, you know, 2020 was, you know, like 2020 vision, you see clear, new vision. I chose 2020 because of that, but also my mother name, Marvel, is mentioned in the Bible 20 times. It was destined, it was designed. It was destined, it was designed. So even with her death date, 7/27/07, her death mirrored my birth. I was born July 6, 1977. Those 3 sevens, I live by those. I live by those. Those are what shaped me, what keeps me grounded. You know, 7 is divine intervention. It's completion. You know, when I sit back and I look at it, man, I can't help but thank God. Like 7/27/07, yes, it changed my life forever. It did. But when I look at it, that lady Marvel that had that much strength, this life was complete. But because I continue to pick up where she left off, yeah, it's going to live on. It's going
That's
to live on.
beautiful. But do you have any final words of advice for anyone who's going through what you've dealt with? Like I've dealt with the loss of a child. My son passed away January 24th, 2017. So
My God.
I do know what it's like to feel that grief. He was 19 and it was not expected. So, for individuals who's going through any type of phases of grief, what advice do you have for them and how they can help overcome the feeling of sadness? Like you said, that instead of, I like you, I learned at first it wasn't easy. This is not easy to,
And,
instead
and,
of
and it's
turning,
days that it's not. PJ, it's
no,
days that it's
no,
not.
ma'am.
Like right now is really difficult for me because my
Mhm.
mom's birthday is the 16th of this month. Like my
Oh,
mom's birthday is the 16th. So yes, so I released Emotions Unlocked, and it was in an obedient assignment. It was completed for a year and it sat. And because of where I was currently in my life and being obedient, it was a test. God said, don't say nothing, don't do nothing, just do it. I had no understanding, like, why now? But because you said it, I'm going to do it. And when I released Emotions Unlocked, I said, like, do I want to? Do I not? Okay, you know what? All right, God, I hear you. You want me to do this event? You want me to do this release? How I'm going to do it? You know, the last thing you did, it was an honor. I said, if I do this, and if I do a launch, it has to be on my mother's birthday, July 16th. 1 plus 6, there's that 7. 2025, 25, 2 plus 5, that's that 7. And I said, like, you know, the venue was, you know, taken on the 16th. I said, I ain't gonna let that discourage me. Like, I am going to do this for my mom's birthday because she is the reason why I feel. She is the reason why I heal. She is the reason why I sit in all of these over emotions. Yeah, this has to happen. So next Saturday, November 15th, I'll be having a book launch and signing for my second guided journal, which is called Emotions Unlocked. And I'm going to do a balloon release in her honor. I want to toast her at 4:27, and I want to do the balloons release exactly at 4:30 because in 2007, that's the time she passed away. So here's the thing. We're going to release her again this year. So I would say anybody that's going through grief, sadness, depression, anxiety, don't sit in it. If you sit in it, don't sit in it long. Get you a team of people, get you a village that's going to not only sit in it with you when you do sit, but it's going to pray you out. That's going to carry you out. Write it down. Get it off you. You know, journaling not for everybody. You know, do a video diary. Sit and talk to yourself. Sit and talk to other people who may have experienced it before you. Maybe they can show you how to navigate through something that they've already done. You know, you don't have to do it their way. You do it your way. You know, it's never a time frame that you can put on grieving. It's not. It's not. It's just all about what you do with your grief. Because some people can allow their grief to consume them and they never come back from it. Some people like myself, this era of grief I'm sitting in, baby, I done birthed out a lot of things that people ain't gonna even see coming. I didn't see coming. But because God said you didn't sit in that, you will not sit in that. Because you are faithful, because you are obedient, I am going to give you double for your trouble. I am going to bless you in their face. You're going to be the face of what grief looks like while healing. You're going to be the face of sitting in the fire and rising from ashes. You're going to be the face that say, at one point I was lost, but I've been found. So I say, get you some people that's going to pray you out of some things. That's not going to tell you always what you want to hear, but what you need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that has been life-saving for me in this season. To be able to talk to people who've experienced the things I have. It didn't use those things, you know, to beat you down further, you know, because people do that. You know, people use
Right.
what you're going through as a conversational piece. You know, people like to see you doing bad. But when you got those that say, hey, I see you, I love you, I support you, I'm going to pray for you. You may not want to talk about nothing, but just come sit and be quiet. Just to have somebody or people that you can come sit and be safe with. Not to say nothing, but just be there. You're going to remember those moments. Like when I didn't know how to feel, what I was feeling, like somebody sat in that with me. So yes,
Thank
I
you.
would say, and even seek therapy. People be talking about, I want therapy. Therapy is good. Therapy is good because
Mm-hmm.
it's a
Mm-hmm.
conversation with people who don't know you, who's unbiased, who don't pass judgment. They're just helping you to understand your feelings and emotions so that you can navigate them with grace, with respect, with integrity and dignity. Because coming out of all of this, you still need to have those things intact for you to be a better person, to show what true healing really looks like.
Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. You guys, that was such a powerful, powerful message. I hope you guys all tuned in. And if you didn't, I hope you catch us on the replay. Miss China, Miss Luciana, Miss Phoenix Storm, I want to thank you so much for sharing this powerful story with
Thank
us
you for
tonight.
having
And
me.
I love you so much.
I love you
Luckily for
back.
me, unfortunately for you guys, I get to talk to her on a daily basis. So I get this energy, this wisdom, this guidance, this knowledge every day.
And it's
And if you
listen,
want
it's
to,
God given. You know, I cannot take credit for what I was blessed with in giving. I cannot. I can only give what he wants me to give. You know, sometimes people will fumble you, right? And that's unfortunate. But because of who I am, because who God called me to be, I forgive. I still love.
mm-hmm.
I'm going to still pray for them. Because here's the thing. You don't get to escape me because what God needs to give you, he said can only come through me. Like I told you, Phoenix Storm, born into the fire, built from the ashes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm chosen. I was chosen. And because he called, because he assigned, and he called and I answered, I am her, Phoenix Storm. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys, I'm gonna put her. If I believe you're gonna put give me all of your socials. I'm gonna add. If you want to reach out to her, she's gonna give me the information for you guys to reach out on her social medias or however. Because I stop here, she's willing to share it with all of you. All you have to do is reach out. Thank you so much, Mr. China, and I will be speaking with you soon.
Thank you. Blessings. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
That was so powerful. I am so glad to have had her on the show. And I really, this was something that just kind of fell into my lap because I didn't have a guest for this week. And, you know, we met last week and it was like, yeah, you can be on my show. And it just kind of happened that way. So I'm really thankful to have her on this episode. You guys, it was a powerful one that needed to be heard. Grief is no joke. And it's hard to get over that. And the forgiveness that she has in her heart, you know, that's something that a lot of us don't speak on as well. So I love it. But before we close out, I want to ensure that everyone and anyone has access to the support they need in real time. If you or someone is experiencing grief or depression or anything, please reach out to organizations that can help. The crisis text line, you can text home to 741-741. It will connect you with a trained crisis counselor that can help you get back to your to basic and honestly can help you find something locally in your area that would be able to help you if you need further assistance. Okay. So as we close today's conversation, I want you to take a deep breath and just sit with what you've heard. Because Miss Luciana's story, like so many of ours, reminds us that healing is not easy. It's a journey of falling apart and coming back home to yourself over and over and over again. Grief may change us. No, it doesn't. It's not a may. Grief does change us, but it does not have to define us. What defines us is how we choose to rise. If you're listening today and you're still walking through your own storm, know this: you're not broken. You're becoming. Every tear forward, is proof of your strength. You are allowed to heal at your own pace. You are allowed to outgrow what hurt you. You are the only one worthy of peace in your life, even after the pain. So I want you to stay this with me. Stay this with me. I am standing. I am still standing. I am still becoming. I am still worthy of life. Affirm that to yourself. And for those of you who have a heart to donate, to give, I want to invite you to sponsor or donate to keep this movement alive. Your support directly fuels the work that I do, the podcast, a new mentoring program that I have coming up through a sorority that you heard me speak about earlier, Nova Sorella, meaning New Sisterhood, which participates in community services, mentoring, and engagement. My magazine, which is launching December 12th, Resilient AF. Every contribution, whether it's monetary or otherwise, it helps ensure these opportunities remain available for those who need the most, including people who can't afford resources but deserve guidance, healing, and hope. You're helping. Your contribution helps to build a community once thought to be broken, giving others the support and tools to reclaim their lives. You can learn more about how to support or donate by visiting www.supportsoulfulresilience.com. Every act of support matters no matter what, whether it's a prayer, a donation, or simply sharing your own story. You're part of a movement that proves survivors can rise, heal, and thrive. So thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for yourself, for joining us in this work. Keep your head up high. Keep your heart open. And never forget that your story does not end in pain. It begins in power. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thank you for tuning in to Insights of a Survivor.
Well, look up. No more running from the bad guy. I'ma stare him in the eye like, what's up? Well, look up. No more running from the bad